It was not a diploma. It was not a degree. It was not, some sort of proof from the Ivy League. It was truly a willingness to show up early, stay late, and master a skill that was in demand. Your happiness, your job satisfaction, the fulfillment of your dream, all that stuff would come later. It was this idea of starting with the opportunity, figuring out how to get good at it, and then figuring out how to love it.
TBN being such a faith-driven network, in the scriptures, it talks a lot about work and describes work as actually a blessing, as a gift, not a chore. It's a privilege to work. And you're so connected with hard work and good work ethic with all the projects that you're doing. Why do you work so hard to inspire people to have a good work ethic?
Well, I'm not sure that I do. I spend a lot of time and a lot of thought and a lot of effort. And I suppose if those things all add up to work, then yeah, guilty as charged. But I've never really looked at my career as work. Dirty Jobs came to me late in life. It was 20 years ago, actually. I was 40, and that show snuck on the air. Nobody thought it would work. Nobody really wanted it to work, to be honest. It was just a very different kind of program. There was no writing. There was no casting. There was no pre-production. We never did a second take. But what we did was present a really honest look at a day in the life of a welder, or a golf ball retrieval expert, or a bridge builder, whatever it was. And the chord that was struck, Kirk, was really interesting. It wasn't about, oh, this is a great show. The feedback was, wow, you got to meet my uncle, my brother, my cousin, my sister, my mom, my dad. Wait till you see what they do. And so I kind of Forrest Gumped my way into a different kind of show 20 years ago when I realized that the country just was starving to have a conversation about the dignity of work, the definition of a good job, the willingness to get dirty, and the success that often is hidden beyond a veneer of grime or slime or mud or something much worse.
Well, we love watching your shows and we love watching you get dirty. It seems today that young people have this different idea of what it means to go to a job. Almost like they're not there to work, they're there to have their needs taken care of by the employer. And you talk a lot about, you demonstrate and you display good work ethics. Can you help us understand, what is a good work ethic? What does it look like?
The best thing that came out of Dirty Jobs back in 2008 was a foundation called MicroWorks. And I started it mostly as a PR campaign for a couple million good jobs that were out there that nobody seemed to want. Typically jobs that didn't require a 4-year degree, but rather the mastery of a skill, training, right? And so the more I began to talk about those opportunities, the more it became clear that what was really required was not certification. It was not a diploma. It was not a degree. It was not, some sort of proof from the Ivy League. It was truly a willingness to show up early, stay late, and master a skill that was in demand. Your happiness, your job satisfaction, the fulfillment of your dream, all that stuff would come later. It was this idea of starting with the opportunity, figuring out how to get good at it, and then figuring out how to love it. And so it was with that reverse commute in mind that we expanded this PR campaign for good jobs into a scholarship. So now we give away $1 million a year in work ethic scholarships. And so that simply means we just look for kids who are willing to make a case for themselves. You got to jump through some hoops if you apply for one of our scholarships. I need references. I want to see a video. I want to see an essay. I want people to make a case for why we should pay for their training to become a welder or a steam fitter or a plumber or a pipe fitter. Anyway, to answer your question, it's very difficult to look into a person's soul and determine if they have an ethic for work. But I can tell you, if their attitude is decent, if they understand the basics of delayed gratification, and if they use words like personal responsibility and accountability, that separates them immediately from the masses, the wheat from the chaff, if you will.
Yeah.
Those are the kind of people we're looking for.
We're familiar with the phrase work smarter, not harder. But you say that that might be a dangerous way to live. Why?
Most good advice that turns into conventional wisdom eventually collapses under its own weight. And once upon a time, somebody said, yeah, you know what? It would be better to work smart instead of hard. They were basically making a case for efficiency and effectiveness. And I've got no problem with either of those things. But if you think about it in terms of the bromide that it's become, like if you Google work smart, not hard right now, you'll find hundreds of pages. You'll find that expression on all kinds of t-shirts and hats, and companies have done whole conferences dedicated to smart work instead of hard work. That's the problem with so much of what happens in our society today, in my view. We wind up making a case for one thing at the expense of another thing. Hard work is never the enemy. Hard work is not a bad thing. If you can work in a way that's more efficient and more effective, that's a good thing, but not at the expense of working hard. And what we want today in our workforce and for our neighbors are people who work smart and hard.
Maybe one of the reasons people are having a hard time getting motivated to go to work is because of this universal basic income idea. The idea that the government will take care of our needs with no strings attached. You don't have to show up from 9 to 5 anywhere. Do you think that there's unintended consequences that can come from that?
I think that in a very general way, we go through many phases in our life, but the biggest line between who we are is who we were as children and who we are as adults. And at some point, you simply can't be taken care of. I just don't believe part of being a grown-up is looking for the government to become our parent. Our government has a lot of responsibilities. And part of those responsibilities is putting policies in place, in my view, that discourage poverty and encourage ambition. I don't know that simply paying people to do nothing is going to accomplish either of those things. So, look, Kirk, I like to stay in my lane as best I can. I'm not running for office, and I'm certainly not an expert on the economy. But I do believe in my bones that shortcuts lead to long delays. And in the end, we all want to be contributing. We all want to move the needle. We all want to be seen as essential because we want to be essential, right? It's not just a question of this worker is essential and this one's not. That worries me to no end. I think everybody is essential to somebody, even if it's just to themselves, which is why all work matters and why all skill matters. And why the unintended consequences of taking money for nothing, sooner or later, they're going to catch up to you.